What if I told you that the wealth you crave isn't waiting for you in some far-off future, but already responding to you tonight as you sleep? I didn't change my job. I didn't find a secret investor. I changed one thing, my nightly ritual, and money started pouring in. There's a sacred moment before sleep where your mind is most open, unguarded, impressionable, and ready to accept new commands. That's where I planted the seed of wealth. Every night, as the world quieted down, I whispered riches into my reality. I didn't beg for money. I didn't hope for a miracle. I declared abundance as if it were already mine. I imagined it. I felt it. And I spoke it with full conviction, even if my bank account said otherwise. It started with a sentence. I am already wealthy. Money flows to me freely, constantly, and from all directions. I didn't just say it, I wrapped emotion around every word. I felt the weight of bills vanishing, the joy of seeing my balance grow, the peace of knowing I never had to chase money again. I rehearsed wealth not from desperation, but from embodiment. I played the scene in my mind of checking my phone and seeing a balance that made me smile. I saw myself blessing others, giving freely, living fully. This wasn't fantasy, it was instruction. Your subconscious doesn't argue. It accepts what you feel to be real. And every night I fed it a new reality. I didn't wait for proof. I became the proof. I walked like someone who had more than enough. I treated my tiny purchases with reverence, knowing that my vibration mattered more than the numbers. I expected money to show up in surprising ways, and it did. Checks in the mail, opportunities out of nowhere, discounts, gifts, clients I hadn't even asked for. The ritual wasn't complicated. It was sacred. Just before drifting off, I would place my hand on my chest, close my eyes, and breathe in the feeling of total financial freedom. I'd speak a sentence that felt like truth. I am so grateful for the money that constantly flows to me. That feeling, that energy, it rewired something inside me. And the outer world began catching up fast. I stopped acting broke. I stopped speaking lack. I became magnetic to wealth because I spoke as someone who already had it. The world didn't change, I did. I didn't force anything. I aligned everything. I tuned my frequency to the vibration of prosperity, and abundance answered. I realized money is not earned by effort alone. It is received by belief, by clarity, and by internal alignment. And the place to cement that belief is not in the chaos of the day, but in the stillness of the night. So tonight, before you sleep, don't just collapse into your bed with thoughts of stress and scarcity. Speak wealth. Feel it. See it. Let it wrap around you like a warm blanket. You are not broke. You are not forgotten. You are one powerful declaration away from a financial shift. And the moment you make that declaration with feeling, the universe begins to conspire in your favor. Do not underestimate the words you speak at night. That's when your soul listens closely. That's when your future is being drafted. Make your ritual simple but bold. Feel the money in your hands. Hear the word approved. See your accounts rising. Imagine the life where generosity, ease, and luxury are normal. Say it as if you already live it. Because when you dare to speak wealth while the world sleeps, you wake up in a reality that begins to match it. This isn't just a ritual, it's a revolution. And it begins tonight with your voice. Speak wealth, sleep in abundance, wake up to proof. Your final thoughts before sleep are not simply memories of the day, they are the commands your mind accepts as law. When the conscious mind fades, the subconscious takes over and builds what it was last fed. I began feeding it wealth, not worry. Instead of thinking about bills or debt, I visualized ease, expansion, and financial freedom. I would speak wealth into the silence, and the silence echoed it back in my life. Nighttime became the gateway to my fortune. It wasn't just rest, it was ritual. I understood that the thoughts I slept with became the mornings I woke up to. So I chose to sleep in prosperity, and within days I started living it. You don't need to see results to begin, you need to begin to see results. What you say in those quiet, final moments becomes the blueprint of your bank account. I replaced complaints with declarations. I spoke not from fear, but from expectation, and life, like a faithful servant, followed my words. Wealth is born in the mind before it is born in the wallet. I didn't wait for money to feel wealthy. I chose to feel wealthy so that money could find its way to me. I stopped focusing on what was missing and began indulging in the feeling of overflow. I imagined walking into stores without checking prices. I imagined giving freely, blessing others without hesitation. The imagination doesn't wait for physical proof, it creates it. Every time I felt the joy of wealth, I expanded the space for it to enter. It wasn't about pretending, it was about believing ahead of time. That belief became the magnet. When you feel rich within, the world eventually has to follow suit. Energy doesn't lie. You attract who you are, not what you wish for. And I became someone who expected abundance as a natural state, not in the future, not someday, but now. There is more power in one aligned sentence than in 1,000 unaligned efforts. I had worked hard for years and struggled, but when I started speaking with conviction, my finances shifted. The difference wasn't in what I did, it was in how I believed. I crafted a sentence that felt like truth, and I spoke it nightly. Money flows to me easily and endlessly. That phrase became my fuel. I didn't say it hoping. I said it knowing. And when that knowing settled into my bones, life moved. Hustle has its place, but alignment makes results inevitable. When your words come from inner certainty, the outer world cannot ignore them. I stopped begging and started claiming. My voice changed. My energy changed. And opportunities began to show up without me chasing them. Speak with belief, not just with breath. That is where wealth begins. Gratitude is a currency that multiplies whatever it touches. I didn't wait for the money to land before I gave thanks. I gave thanks as if it had already arrived. I would say thank you for the overflow, even when I had only coins in my account. That feeling of appreciation attracted more to appreciate. Gratitude signals readiness. The moment I felt truly thankful for unseen income, life filled in the gap. It wasn't about tricking myself. It was about tuning myself. I tuned my heart to abundance, and that vibration drew more of it in. Money doesn't chase desperation, it follows confidence and grace. When you're grateful before it arrives, you show that you trust the process. And trust is a magnet for miracles. Gratitude is not a reaction, it's a creative force. I gave thanks with emotion, and that emotion shaped my reality. The subconscious mind is the soil, and your words are the seeds. Just before sleep, that soil is most fertile, ready to accept whatever is planted. I made a choice to plant wealth, not once but nightly. I whispered affirmations of abundance while drifting into rest. And slowly those seeds took root. They changed how I thought, how I moved, how I received. It's not about trying harder, it's about reprogramming what you expect. I expected more money, so more came. The subconscious listens when you relax, and night is the doorway. I didn't argue with my current situation, I replaced it internally. I rehearsed what I wanted until it felt like my truth. And that truth became my experience. There was no fight, only flow. The subconscious is always listening. I just started feeding it better instructions. I stopped sounding like someone desperate for money and started speaking like someone who already had it. I dropped the language of lack and picked up the vocabulary of wealth. I always have more than enough, I would say before sleep. And eventually, I believed it. My life adjusted to match that belief. I didn't speak to convince the world, I spoke to convince myself. When you consistently speak as if you are already rich, your decisions shift. Your emotions stabilize. Your confidence rises. I became aligned with the energy of someone who trusts money will always show up. And it did. I no longer spoke with fear, I spoke with finality. Money was no longer a wish, it was a part of my identity. My speech became prophecy, and my reality followed the voice of certainty. Every night became an opportunity to revise my financial future. I didn't waste that space with overthinking. I used it as a creative launchpad. I closed my eyes and declared my wealth. I painted mental pictures of the life I wanted and spoke as if I was already living it. This wasn't just a game, it was a spiritual act. My nightly ritual became a sacred meeting with abundance. I chose to end each day with powerful words that rewrote what tomorrow would look like. I no longer carried stress into sleep. I carried vision. Vision for wealth, vision for generosity, vision for overflow. That small change, those few minutes of intention, brought massive changes. I rewrote my destiny in the dark, and I woke up to brighter mornings. Money is not just paper, it's energy, and energy responds to focus. I began focusing on wealth instead of lack. I shifted my attention to how it feels to be financially free. The more I focused on it, the more it found me. Where attention goes, energy flows. I didn't just hope for money, I became receptive to it. I visualized it, affirmed it, and praised it in advance. I didn't chase it, I called it. When you hold wealth in your mind, life reshapes itself to deliver it. My thoughts became clean, clear, and expectant. I stopped worrying and started aligning. Attention creates attraction. And I gave my attention only to the life I wanted to live. The smallest shift in your nightly words can move the largest blocks in your life. I didn't overhaul my routine, I added a few powerful declarations. I spoke abundance into the mirror of my mind, and those simple lines became truth. Repeating them every night created a new rhythm in my spirit. I felt rich before I looked rich. I felt blessed before I was visibly blessed. That small habit brought big transformation. You don't need hours of rituals. You need sincerity, repetition, and feeling. Even quiet repetition has volume in the spiritual realm. What you speak with consistency becomes what you live with certainty. I trusted my words would shape my world, and they did. I realized I was never waiting for money. It was waiting for me to stop pushing it away with fear. I had been unknowingly rejecting wealth by feeling unworthy of it. But when I gave myself permission to receive, everything changed. My words turned into open doors. I allow money to flow freely to me. That became my key. I wasn't pleading, I was welcoming. I made space for money with my words, and space was filled. Money likes clarity. It enters where it's invited, not where it's doubted. I became the open channel. My words weren't commands, they were invitations, and life accepted them. There's a kind of belief that doesn't make sense to logic, but it makes miracles inevitable. I stopped needing to explain how or when. I just spoke the result and trusted the process. I repeated my affirmations with feeling, not calculation. I didn't analyze, I accepted. And in that acceptance, reality shifted faster than ever before. Belief does what facts cannot. I chose belief as my foundation and spoke from that place every night. I believed my income could grow in ways I'd never seen. I believed doors would open for me, even if I didn't know their names. And they did. Not because I deserved more, but because I finally believed I could have more. I no longer said things like, I hope it works. I said, this is already mine. That's the difference between wishing and manifesting. I made wealth my truth, not my desire. I spoke with assurance. I felt the richness in my chest as I whispered those words. The world doesn't wait for the uncertain, it moves for the convinced. And I convinced my inner world first. Night after night, I repeated sentences that made me feel powerful. I didn't speak to get rich. I spoke because I was rich in spirit. That energy transformed my finances. I lived it inside until it appeared outside. Because life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you own.